Welcome, fellow witches, wizards, and magical beings of all kinds. Today, we're diving into perhaps the most controversial debate in the entire wizarding world, one that has divided friends, families, and common rooms for centuries. Uh, which Hogwarts house is truly the best? Is it the brave lions of Gryffindor, the cunning serpents of Slytherin, the wise eagles of Ravenclaw, or the loyal badgers of Hufflepuff? I'm not just going to give you my opinion. We're going to examine each house thoroughly, looking at their histories, their values, their greatest members, their contributions to the wizarding world, and yes, even their failures. By the end of this magical journey, we'll have a comprehensive understanding of what makes each house special and perhaps come to a surprising conclusion about which truly stands above the rest. So grab your wands, don your house colors, and prepare for a deep dive into the very heart of Hogwarts, Revelio Hogwartis. To truly understand the houses, we must first understand their founders, four of the greatest witches and wizards of their age who came together with a revolutionary idea, a school where young, magical people could learn in safety away from the growing persecution of the mundane world. Godric Gryffindor, a skilled duelist from the wild moors, valued courage and chivalry above all else. Known for his impressive magical capabilities, particularly in combat magic, Gryffindor left behind not just a legacy, but powerful artifacts, including his famous sword, goblin made, adorned with rubies, and enchanted to present itself to any true Gryffindor in moments of great need. Gryffindors are known for their daring, nerve, and bravery. They charge headfirst into danger, stand up for what they believe in, and aren't afraid to speak their minds. The Gryffindor common room, warm, cozy, decked in scarlet and gold, reflects this bold spirit, situated high in one of Hogwarts' towers with a breathtaking view of the grounds. Then we have Rowena Ravenclaw from the misty Scottish glens, considered the most brilliant witch of her age. Ravenclaw valued intelligence, creativity, and wisdom. Her greatest creation was her diadem, said to enhance the wisdom of the wearer, a powerful magical artifact later corrupted by dark magic. Ravenclaw House embraces those with quick minds, curiosity, and creativity. Their common room, located in a tower with a special knocker that poses riddles for entry, is airy and filled with books, with a stunning domed ceiling painted with stars. A perfect environment for contemplation and learning. Helga Hufflepuff came from the broad valleys of Wales. Unlike the other founders who selected students based on specific qualities, Hufflepuff was famously inclusive, declaring she would teach the lot and treat them just the same. Her golden cup, another founder's relic, symbolized her generosity and warmth. The Hufflepuff common room, near the kitchens, is a cozy, earthy space filled with plants and warmed by sunlight through round windows. Hufflepuffs value hard work, patience, loyalty, and fair play, qualities that may seem simple but form the backbone of any functioning society. Finally, Salazar Slytherin from the fens of eastern England. A complex figure in wizarding history, Slytherin valued ambition, cunning, and resourcefulness. He was also a Parselmuth, able to speak to serpents fee, and left behind a hidden chamber of secrets within the school, containing a basilisk meant to purge those he deemed unworthy. The Slytherin common room lies beneath the lake, bathed in a greenish underwater light that creates an atmosphere of mystery and exclusivity. Here, students learn the value of ambition, determination, and the subtle art of achieving one's ends through strategic thinking rather than brute force. The founders worked together harmoniously for years, but eventually a rift formed primarily between Gryffindor and Slytherin over who should be admitted to study magic. Slytherin believed magical education should be kept within all magic families, while the others wished to extend education to talented children born to non-magical parents. This fundamental disagreement led to Slytherin's departure from the school, but the four houses remained, each continuing to embody the values of their founder, and so began centuries of friendly and sometimes not so friendly competition between the houses. Let's begin our detailed examination with Gryffindor, the house that often receives the most attention in wizarding lore, not always deservedly so, as we'll discover. Gryffindor has produced some of the most celebrated heroes in wizarding history: Albus Dumbledore, Minerva McGonagall, the entire Potter family, the Weasleys, Neville Longbottom, and countless others who stood against darkness when it would have been easier to flee. What makes Gryffindors special is their instinctive response to danger. While others might carefully weigh options or seek self-preservation, Gryffindors are often the first to step forward, wands raised. This impulse toward heroism is both their greatest strength and at times their greatest weakness. Consider the Battle of Hogwarts, where countless Gryffindor students and alumni returned to fight, knowing they might face death. Or Harry Potter, walking into the Forbidden Forest to meet his fate, believing it would save others. These moments of self-sacrifice define the house. But Gryffindor bravery isn't just about grand, heroic gestures. It's also found in everyday courage, standing up to friends when they're wrong, as Neville Longbottom did in his first year, or facing personal fears like Professor Lupin, teaching students to confront their darkest anxieties through the boggart lessons. However, let's not glorify Gryffindor without examining its flaws. The house's emphasis on bravery can sometimes manifest as recklessness. How many problems could have been avoided if Harry had simply brought his concerns to professors instead of investigating alone? Gryffindors often act first and think later, a tendency that has created as many problems as it has solved. There's also an uncomfortable strain of rule-breaking that's celebrated rather than discouraged. While breaking unjust rules can be admirable, Gryffindors sometimes seem to believe rules simply don't apply to them because their intentions are good, a dangerous precedent that borders on arrogance. And speaking of arrogance, let's acknowledge the uncomfortable truth that Gryffindor has produced its share of bullies. James Potter and Sirius Black's treatment of young Severus Snape, regardless of later redemption, showed the dark side of Gryffindor confidence. Yet, for all these flaws, Gryffindor's contributions to the wizarding world cannot be overstated. In every major conflict, from Grindelwald's rise to both wizarding wars, Gryffindors were at the forefront of resistance movements. Their willingness to stand and fight when others would hide or compromise has repeatedly saved wizarding society from darkness. And perhaps most importantly, Gryffindor courage isn't just about fighting external enemies, it's about facing internal demons as well. The truly great Gryffindors, like Dumbledore, recognized their own flaws and worked to overcome them, perhaps the bravest act of all. Now we turn to Hufflepuff, often unfairly dismissed as the house for everyone else, a characterization that completely misunderstands its fundamental strength. Hufflepuff has given us some of wizardkind's most decent and capable individuals: Newt Scamander, whose compassion for magical creatures revolutionized our understanding of them; Cedric Diggory, whose sense of fair play led him to share crucial Tri-Wizard Tournament information with a competitor; Nymphadora Tonks, whose loyalty led her to fight and ultimately die, protecting the wizarding world. The Hufflepuff common room entrance says it all. While other houses have passwords or riddles, Hufflepuffs simply need to tap a barrel in the rhythm of Helga Hufflepuff. Get it wrong, and you're doused in vinegar. This perfectly encapsulates Hufflepuff philosophy: straightforward, practical, and with consequences that inconvenience rather than harm. What truly distinguishes Hufflepuff is their unshakable sense of fairness and community. During the Battle of Hogwarts, it's worth noting that after Gryffindor, Hufflepuff had the most students stay to fight, not because they sought glory or had personal vendettas, but because it was the right thing to do. Hufflepuffs excel at finding practical solutions to problems, while Ravenclaws might theorize and Slytherins scheme. Hufflepuffs roll up their sleeves and get to work. This pragmatism, combined with their loyalty, makes them incredibly effective team members and leaders. Hufflepuff has historically excelled in fields requiring patience and dedicated care: herbology, magical creature management, healing. Professor Sprout's greenhouses weren't just places of learning, but sources of vital ingredients for medicines and potions. During both Wizarding Wars, Hufflepuff healers saved countless lives. But what about Hufflepuff's weaknesses? Critics suggest Hufflepuffs can be naive or too trusting. Their inclusive nature means they sometimes fail to recognize genuine threats until it's too late, and their commitment to fair play can be exploited by those who don't share their values. There's also the risk of conformity. Hufflepuff's strong community ethos can sometimes discourage standing out or challenging group consensus, a tendency that, while promoting harmony, might stifle innovation or necessary disruption. Yet these weaknesses are also reflections of Hufflepuff's greatest strength, their fundamental decency. In a world that often rewards cunning or power, Hufflepuffs remain committed to kindness and fairness, not because they're simple, but because they recognize these values as the foundation of a functional society. During the darkest periods of wizarding history, when the Ministry fell to corruption or Hogwarts itself was infiltrated by Death Eaters, it was often Hufflepuffs who maintained underground networks of support and protection. Their common room was one of the few places never breached by dark wizards, protected not by elaborate enchantments, but by the loyalty of its members. Perhaps the greatest testament to Hufflepuff's value comes from the Sorting Hat itself, which once sang, "In Hufflepuff, they took the rest and taught them all they knew." What's often missed is that this wasn't settling. It was radical inclusion at a time when magical education was becoming increasingly exclusive. Hufflepuff recognized that greatness can come from anywhere and talent deserves nurturing regardless of background. Next, we ascend to Ravenclaw Tower, home to those who value intelligence, creativity, and the pursuit of knowledge for its own sake. Ravenclaw has produced some of the wizarding world's greatest intellectuals and innovators: Garrick Ollivander, whose understanding of wand lore remains unparalleled; Phileas Flitwick, whose mastery of charms made him not just a brilliant teacher, but a formidable duelist; Luna Lovegood, whose unique perspective allowed her to see truths others missed. The Ravenclaw common room perfectly embodies the house's values: airy, filled with books, and adorned with the likeness of their founder, who believed that wit beyond measure is man's greatest treasure. To enter, one must solve a riddle, ensuring that residents exercise their minds simply to return home. Throughout history, Ravenclaws have been responsible for many of wizardkind's greatest advances: the development of countless spells, revolutionary potions, innovations, breakthroughs in understanding magical theory, all bear the mark of Ravenclaw intellect. What distinguishes Ravenclaw thinking is its creativity and willingness to explore unconventional paths. While knowledge is valued, It's the application of that knowledge in innovative ways that truly marks Ravenclaw achievement. Think of Luna Lovegood's seemingly bizarre beliefs. While some were indeed fanciful, others reflected an openness to possibilities beyond established dogma. Consider the Room of Requirement, widely believed to be Rowena Ravenclaw's creation. This space doesn't just adapt to needs, it anticipates them, demonstrating an understanding of magic that transcends simple spellcasting to create something that seems almost sentient. But Ravenclaw is not without flaws. The pursuit of knowledge can sometimes become isolated from ethical considerations or practical applications. Some Ravenclaws become so focused on theoretical understanding that they lose sight of real-world consequences. Real-world, there's also a tendency toward intellectual elitism. The belief that intelligence is the supreme value can lead to dismissiveness toward those with different kinds of abilities or wisdom. This attitude has sometimes isolated Ravenclaws from broader wizarding society, creating a perception of aloofness or arrogance. Perhaps most concerning is what happens when brilliant minds turn toward dark ends. While Ravenclaw hasn't produced as many dark wizards as Slytherin, those who have emerged have created particularly insidious threats, complex curses, subtle poisons, enchantments that twist reality itself. Yet, at their best, Ravenclaws bring light to darkness through understanding. During times of superstition or fear, it has often been Ravenclaw voices arguing for reason and research rather than panic or prejudice. Their willingness to question established beliefs has repeatedly pushed wizarding society toward greater enlightenment. And while Ravenclaws value individual achievement, their greatest contributions often come through collaboration, bringing their insights to practical problems and working with those of complementary talents. The greatest magical breakthroughs have rarely come from isolated genius, but from Ravenclaw intelligence applied within diverse teams. Finally, we descend beneath the lake to the Slytherin dungeon, home to perhaps the most misunderstood house at Hogwarts. Slytherin's reputation has been deeply shaped by its most infamous alumnus, Lord Voldemort, and his followers. Yet, this house has also produced figures like Merlin, yes, the Merlin of Arthurian legend, Horace Slughorn, whose connections helped form the resistance against Voldemort, and Severus Snape, whose complex legacy demonstrates both Slytherin's capacity for darkness and its potential for profound redemption. The Slytherin Common Room reflects the house's nature, located beneath the lake, bathed in greenish light, simultaneously mysterious and beautiful. Unlike the warm comfort of Gryffindor or the airy intellectualism of Ravenclaw, Slytherin's environment suggests depth, complexity, and a certain remove from immediate concern. And Slytherin's defining quality is ambition, not inherently good or evil, but a powerful drive that can shape society for better or worse. Throughout history, Slytherins have risen to positions of influence in every field, from ministry leadership to revolutionary potions research. What distinguishes Slytherin ambition from mere desire for power is its patience and strategic thinking. While Gryffindors might charge directly toward a goal, Slytherins excel at creating intricate paths to success, recognizing that true achievement often requires planning and careful alliance building. This aptitude for creating connections has made Slytherins particularly successful in politics, international relations, and business. The ability to read people, understand motivations, and leverage relationships has allowed many Slytherins to achieve their goals while simultaneously advancing broader interests. But we cannot discuss Slytherin without addressing its darkest tendencies. The house's emphasis on ambition can sometimes override ethical considerations. Its history of blood purism, though not universal among its members, has caused immeasurable harm, and the house's secretive nature has allowed problematic beliefs to fester unchallenged. Yet what's often overlooked is the internal struggle within Slytherin itself. During both Wizarding Wars, while some Slytherins joined Voldemort, others actively worked against him, often at greater personal risk than members of other houses due to their social connections. The stereotype that all Slytherins are dark wizards in waiting is not just false but dangerous. It creates a self-fulfilling prophecy, pushing those sorted into the house toward the very behaviors they're already suspected of. The truth is far more complex. Slytherin qualities can build societies as readily as they can damage them. In the years following the Second Wizarding War, some of the most effective work in rebuilding and reforming wizarding society came from Slytherins applying their ambition toward positive change. Their understanding of systems and power structures allowed them to implement reforms that idealistic Gryffindors might have struggled to navigate. Perhaps most telling about Slytherin's true nature is the house's response to crisis. During the Battle of Hogwarts, while many Slytherins left, those who stayed fought with calculation and effectiveness that complemented Gryffindor's bravery and Hufflepuff's steadfastness. And in the aftermath, many returned to help rebuild, recognizing that their ambitions required a stable, functioning wizarding world. Now that we've examined each house individually, it's time to address the question that brought us here. Which house is truly the best? And the answer may surprise you. The true strength of Hogwarts doesn't lie in any single house's superiority, but in the balance they create together. The founders understood this, even if their personal disagreements sometimes overshadowed it. Each house represents qualities that, when combined, create not just capable wizards, but a functional, magical society. Consider the defeat of Voldemort. It required Gryffindor courage from Harry and his friends, yes, but also Ravenclaw intelligence to solve the mystery of the Horcruxes, Hufflepuff loyalty to maintain the resistance through dark times, and even Slytherin cunning in Snape's long game of deception that ultimately proved crucial. The most effective wizards and witches often embody qualities from multiple houses. Albus Dumbledore, sorted into Gryffindor, displayed remarkable intelligence worthy of Ravenclaw and strategic planning worthy of Slytherin. Nymphadora Tonks brought Hufflepuff loyalty to her work as an aura, but also showed Gryffindor courage and Slytherin adaptability in her Metamorph Magus abilities. Even the Sorting Hat acknowledges this reality. Its famous hat stalls, where it struggles to place students, reflect the fact that many of us contain qualities valued by multiple houses. Harry Potter himself could have been in Slytherin. Hermione Granger showed Ravenclaw intelligence alongside Gryffindor bravery. Neville Longbottom's loyalty might have placed him in Hufflepuff before his courage blossomed. The real problem isn't which house is best, but the artificial divisions the house system sometimes creates. When houses become isolated from each other, their strengths can turn to weaknesses. Gryffindor bravery becomes recklessness. Hufflepuff loyalty becomes groupthink. Ravenclaw intelligence becomes detached. And Slytherin ambition becomes self-serving. The most successful periods in wizarding history have been those where house boundaries became permeable, where students formed friendships across houses and brought their complementary strengths together. Consider Dumbledore's army, which united members from Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, and Ravenclaw against a common threat. After the Second Wizarding War, one of the most significant reforms at Hogwarts was increased emphasis on inter-house cooperation, mixed study groups, collaborative projects, and events designed to bridge traditional divides. These changes recognized that while house identity provides community, it shouldn't limit potential connections. So which house is best? The answer isn't any single house, but all of them together. And more importantly, the bridges we build between them. A Gryffindor who cultivates Hufflepuff fairness, Ravenclaw wisdom, and Slytherin strategy becomes not just brave, but effectively brave. A Slytherin who embraces Gryffindor's moral courage, Ravenclaw's breadth of knowledge, and Hufflepuff's teamwork becomes not just ambitious, but constructively ambitious. Perhaps this is what the founders intended all along, not four competing approaches to magic, but four complementary paths that, when brought together, create something greater than the sum of their parts. Before we conclude, let's address something many of you have wondered. How do you know which house you truly belong in? Many of us feel drawn to certain houses or think we embody their values, but how accurate are our self-perceptions? The sorting hat looks past our conscious thoughts to see our core qualities, sometimes recognizing truths about ourselves we haven't yet acknowledged. How many students have been surprised by their sorting, only to discover years later that the hat saw their potential more clearly than they did themselves? Of course, we don't have access to the actual sorting hat. The countless house quizzes online can be fun, but they measure how we see ourselves rather than who we truly are. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. And our aspirational identity says as much about us as our current reality. Perhaps a better question than which house would I be sorted into is, which house values do I want to cultivate in myself? Do you wish to develop Gryffindor's courage to stand for what's right, Hufflepuff's steadfast loyalty and fairness, Ravenclaw's intellectual curiosity and creativity, Slytherin's determination and strategic thinking? Remember that house qualities aren't static or exclusive. The most admirable members of each house grow to incorporate strengths from the others. Your true house isn't a permanent label, but a starting point for development. And for those who feel strongly they belong in a particular house, that instinct likely reflects something genuine about your values and priorities. The sorting hat itself takes preferences into account, as we saw with Harry Potter's sorting. Where you want to be says something important about who you are. We began this journey asking which Hogwarts house is truly the best, and now we can answer with confidence. The best house is the one that helps you become your best self. For some, that's Gryffindor, with its emphasis on bravery and standing up for what's right. For others, it's Hufflepuff, whose values of hard work and fairness build the foundation of community. Many find their home in Ravenclaw, where curiosity and creativity are celebrated, and others thrive in Slytherin, where ambition and determination forge paths to achievement. The genius of Hogwarts isn't just in sorting students, but in creating communities where different strengths are recognized and cultivated. No house is inherently superior. Each represents qualities our world desperately needs, and each has produced both heroes and villains. In the end, what matters isn't which color scarf you wear, but how you embody the best of your house's values while reaching across boundaries to appreciate others. The wizarding world is strongest when Gryffindor courage is tempered by Hufflepuff fairness, when Ravenclaw intellect is directed by Slytherin purpose, when all four houses recognize their interdependence. So whether you identify as a brave lion, a loyal badger, a wise eagle, or a cunning serpent, or perhaps a blend of all four, remember that the houses exist not to divide us, but to help us understand our strengths and grow beyond our limitations. After all, as Dumbledore wisely noted, We are only as strong as we are united, as weak as we are divided. The true magic of Hogwarts lies not in competition between houses, but in the extraordinary things we can achieve when we bring them together. I hope you've enjoyed this exploration of the Hogwarts houses. If you found it illuminating, please hit that like button, subscribe for more wizarding content, and let me know in the comments which house you identify with and why. Are you a proud Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, Slytherin, or perhaps a bit of each? The conversation continues below. Until next time, keep your wands at the ready and your minds open to magic in all its forms. Finite incantatem.